Good evening and hello, everyone. This is Popcast on the Rocks. It's a Wednesday. We're covering Doom Patrol Season 1, Episodes 10 and 11 in the latter half of the show. So if you've been watching that along with us, please stay tuned. We'll give you our thoughts. Otherwise, for the time being, I am John, and I am joined by Andrea.
Hello, everyone. How's it going, John?
Good. Very good. How are you?
Good. It's midway through the week. I'm surviving, possibly thriving. Who knows?
Nice.
But getting towards that Friday, so can't complain.
Is it it's getting a lighter load yet, or is it just as chaotic of a week as last?
It's a little bit lighter. We got our house appraisal checked off our adult to-do list, so that took a lot of pressure off this week now. We can go back to being like slobs and, not cleaning the house and whatever. So
Nice.
yeah, much less pressure. We can, leave our snacks out and, just like wander around the house, not vacuum, be crazy.
Yeah, be crazy. Yeah.
That's right. That's our idea of crazy. Leaving a glass on the coffee table, not putting down a coaster. Look out.
Oh, man.
I know. It gets wild around here.
This is a frat house. Wow.
Yes, living in squalor over here. Yeah, so the week is going good, and like I said, that's one big thing off my plate, so can kind of cruise through the rest of the week. So, How are you doing?
Good. I have a new chair, so
yes,
I'm much
more
comfortable here. That's good. I can play games with a keyboard and mouse and not hurt my wrists so much, so that's a positive. I decided to do that.
All right. Getting some upgrades. I like it.
Yep. We're on the list for our remodel stuff.
Oh, okay.
That's they're booked out quite a ways, but we're on the list.
Nice.
And I've been busy with fun stuff.
Oh, okay.
Ashley and I finished Dorohedoro on Netflix.
How was that?
So it was really good. I was sad when it was over. It's a season 1. Apparently there's enough of the manga to do 3 more seasons.
Wow.
So I hope that it gets the attention it deserves and they green light more seasons.
Okay.
Because I definitely want more. And then I started playing the other week Prey, the modern one, and I'm trying to get it done like this week, but I don't know that it's going to happen. I'm really liking it. And for Nintendo fans out there, have you heard of the franchise Metroid?
Yes, haven't played, but yeah.
Okay. So there is a big series that was important to me on the GameCube that was Metroid. Okay, Siri thinks I'm talking to her. Called Metroid Prime.
Okay.
And I realized the other day that this is basically Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime 4 has been announced, but they've restarted production on it, so it's a long ways out. So if you're a Nintendo fan and you like Metroid Prime, and you're like, man, the wait's gonna be long, you should play Prey, because it's basically Metroid Prime with like it's scarier. And to that, like what you could relate it to is Alien. It feels so much like Alien in a lot of ways. It's not just because there are aliens in it, but just that it focuses so much on the auditory experience you have.
Sure.
The audio design is important to the game. Not that that's like necessarily unique, but they do a great job in here. The soundtrack is phenomenal. The premise basically is turns out you're a scientist / test subject, and some weird shit's going on, and you're on a space station, and with a bunch of aliens, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are dead, and you need to
Mm-hmm.
like find out what's going on and escape or whatever, Um, it's great. It's fantabulous. It's fantabulous. So,
It's so good. You're trying to make up a new word to describe how fabulous it is.
uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as a shell, it does sound a lot like Aliens or Alien,
Yeah.
any of the Alien
Right.
genre. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it'd definitely be something I would check out.
It evokes those things of being alone, and it's called prey because you are the prey. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you are outnumbered, outgunned. You have to survive, and I just really can't rave about it enough. So, and Alan brings up it's by Arcane Studios. Yeah, they did Dishonored, so that game I talked to you
Oh,
before
right.
about,
Yes.
um, and the PS5 exclusive Deathloop that's
Mm-hmm.
upcoming, PS5 console exclusive, and yeah, so that's what I've been doing. That's the
Nice.
fun stuff.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I'm excited to get back to some fun stuff. So I've been working
yeah,
overtime and then getting the house ready. So there wasn't a lot of, fun time. So I'm excited to like have
yep,
nights to myself again.
yep, nice. Well, speaking of fun times,
Yeah.
you marked that it's the 24th is Tequila Day.
Yeah, tequila day.
Fun time.
Yes, it is. Definitely a drinking holiday I can get on board with. And I was actually thinking about that today because Bravo was running season 2 of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which is
Mm,
very Kyle centric, and Kyle loves a good margarita. So I was like, man, this just like ties in so perfectly. Um,
mhm.
I personally do not have a margarita because we did not have margarita mix, but I got some tequila and agua fresca going on right here. So
Nice.
I am very
Right.
excited about this.
Well, I'm out of tequila because I had felt so inclined to um, partake in the tequila fun in the previous number of weeks, and
That's
so I
right.
haven't had a chance to restock on tequila.
Hmm.
So I just have some wine tonight. I don't even know what kind. It's very good, but it's a red wine. So um, for you wine snobs out there, I apologize. Speaking of the Housewives, you've been back able to watch that now that they are
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, I have. Been keeping up with both Beverly Hills and New York. New York is still just absolutely insane. Like everybody on there just like is just insane all the time. Leah's probably still my favorite person. Um
Mm,
and everybody else like I was just watching their trip up to the Berkshires in Dorinda's finally remodeled new house, and man, just meltdown of epic proportions.
I'm excited for the next one. I'm very excited. The preview has me pumped.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
New York
The
has had
meltdown
me.
continues.
Yes. New York has had me like, wow, hot messes, but I'm
Yeah.
very entertained. And
Yeah.
Beverly Hills has just had me frustrated. I've just been upset with these people. So
Yeah.
it's just, I don't know.
I agree.
Pretty down.
New York, at least there's like some fun in the hot messes, and they're so like
Mhm,
some of them are just like so far gone that it's entertaining. Like Sonia
mhm.
is entertaining.
Yeah.
Leah's
Yep.
entertaining. I mean, I do get annoyed with Ramona. She's just really like pushing my buttons this season.
Mhm.
I don't know
Mona
what it
and
is.
Dorinda.
Yeah, they just
Mhm.
like are so argumentative and they get so hot so fast, and like Ramona just can't stop talking about how many friends she has. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm sick of hearing how many friends you have. Like, I don't care. You have
Yeah.
friends. That's really
Right.
great for you. Everybody in the world like has friends. We don't have to talk about the number. Um, yeah. Also, I didn't
And you're a
love
celebrity. So
right, exactly. Like, good for you. Um,
yeah.
I didn't love Luann in the last couple episodes. Like normally I've
No.
been good with her, but she was just like flat out mean these last two
Yep.
episodes, like stomping around like a little child, being like, "It's my
Yep.
cabaret show, like it's mine." And I was just like, "Oh boy, like wow, you sound like a 5-year-old. Do you want to stomp your feet as you go down the hall?" Ugh.
Yeah. So, you know what I thought of um during that episode, and it's gross, and it's gonna go along with our grossness later, was we get into
Oh,
Doom
okay,
Patrol
sure. Oh, sure. I
and
think I know
gross
what you're talking
things.
about.
Uh, um, but so I had just recently rewatched Super Bad.
Yeah.
And so Leah in this episode is like, I'm so excited to be the only one on my period or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, that's random. That's really
Yeah.
random. And like the next scene, she's up with her skirt up grinding on someone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just thinking we're gonna have a super bad situation right now. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that's just oh my
For
gosh.
for women who are like so concerned with classiness, there really wasn't a lot of it in the last episode between Leah rubbing her like period on somebody and then Ramona, like the stickler for class, being like, "Come here and check out my clogged toilet. Like, come help me." And I
Yeah.
was like,
Yep. Yep.
"Ah,
But that's the irony. That's always the irony
yes,
with Real Housewives of Potomac. When that started, everybody was about class. They're all on there trying to show how sophisticated they were, and they just yelling, arguing with each other about
yep,
who's more sophisticated and classy, whilst acting completely classless,
yes,
ridiculously. You know, so
yes." It
nothing
does.
new there.
Yeah, it does serve as a nice reminder sometimes that these are just people and they
Yeah.
experience weird problems that are very normal, like clogged toilets.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Yeah, New York has been fun. Beverly Hills has been frustrating. I agree. There's been like the same argument that's being played out almost every single episode. Kind of reminds me of last year, like Puppygate. Obviously, completely different
Oh
issues, but
yeah.
just like we have one issue that just nobody can seem to let
Yep.
go of, and we're just gonna like drag it out
Yep.
and like focus on one person. It's just driving me nuts. So yeah, it was kind of fun today to go back to season 2 and rewatch that and be like, yeah, these women can be fun. Like they don't have to just like
Sure.
do this pattern.
Yep.
So it was nice to
Yep.
get some old school in there.
Well, speaking of clogged toilets and can be fun, the Xbox event is tomorrow. Uh, Clogged toilets in the sense that this
That's a
current gen for
transition.
Xbox, yeah, it's been stopped up. It hasn't
Yeah.
gone anywhere. But in fun in the sense that they've really made some strides here and have built up a momentum.
Hmm.
And tomorrow morning, we're going to get, I mean, the pressure is on. I am
Yep.
personally very excited. Like, th- sometimes there's an event coming up and people try to like temper your expectations.
Hmm.
Phil Spencer has not attempted that. And
No.
my expectations are high. I am
Hmm.
going in ready to be wowed and amazed,
Yep.
and I hope it happens. Or
Yep.
I'm gonna be one of those. I'm gonna be a troll on the internet and like just raging about things that don't matter. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm excited.
I am too. Yeah, I think they've got to watch that whole like setting expectations thing because that is a very dangerous game. And we've already been
Hmm.
disappointed this summer. So if we're disappointed
Yep.
again, like where do you have to go from here? Can you ever, recapture anybody's interest?
Yep. Well, I mean, it'd be interesting. These companies right now are seeming more aware than ever of how delicate the press around their events and their everything is right
Right.
now. Like how seeing how that, amongst other things, affected the Xbox so severely in this generation.
Mhm.
And for instance, it seems like the expectation for everybody is, hey, next generation games are going to run at 4K 60 frames a second.
Mhm.
Well, just the other day, um, Insomniac put out that Spider-Man is going to have an optional 4K 60 frames a second performance mode. So, well, that's great, but a lot of people, that gives them pause because it's like, wait, I thought everything was going to run at 4K 60, and
Right.
it's sort of like a balancing of those expectations again, because no, a lot of games aren't going to run at 4K 60 because they're going
Mm-hmm.
to choose to, you know, it's what the developer chooses to put their strength behind, what they choose to
Right.
value. You want shinier things and smoother edges, or do you want faster frame rate? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. We'll just managing expectations everywhere is going to be really important. Listening to everybody and seeing like the reaction. I feel
Right.
like every event they're tailoring to respond to audience reaction.
Mm-hmm. Which is not
So
the way you want to go about it, I think. I mean,
yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
I feel like you have to be concerned about your audience, and like you want to give people what they want, but I mean, you can't just be so concerned with it that like you spend so much time thinking about them, you don't spend enough time thinking about what you want to do, because then you don't
Right.
innovate, because then you're just like trying to preempt anything anybody would say, and really what are you doing then? You're not creating.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Yep.
I mean, I think
I
people have to have a voice, but I don't think it can be so overwhelming that, developers and companies can't feel like they can do what they want to do without, total fear of retribution or
Yep.
comments or whatever.
Well, this drama is just, it's been entertaining to me. Like, even there was a developer of an indie game on Twitter the other day as well that said, I announced that my game that was Xbox exclusive is moving to PlayStation, and no one says a word. They're excited. That's happy. And
Right.
then I go and say that it's going to run at 120 FPS on Xbox only, Xbox Series X only, and he gets all kinds of hate from PlayStation fans. How could
Mhm.
you? Like, you're terrible, whatever. He's like, look, be mad at the hardware. Like, I'm just making the game and making it run the best I can wherever is allowed. So
Right.
just like, it's interesting seeing these, that there's still these fan clubs that are so committed to either
Mhm.
side and like trying to jab the other one.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird response to just like attack. I mean,
Mhm.
especially for something that's like people take it so personally, almost like a betrayal, and it's like, you think this man is supposed to, like develop a game with just you in mind? Like, you're not the
Right.
only gamers out there, and just because you like, a certain console, a certain setup better, doesn't mean there aren't other people out there that also
Right.
deserve consideration. It's crazy to me. Like, people take choices that people make so personally, and it's like, no, you got to let that go.
Yep. Well, in terms of things that aren't terrible and are actually really cool cooperation,
Mhm.
we have the Tsushima tourism like board, or like you can go to a website now with the new
Mhm.
Ghost of Tsushima game, and the like tourism people of the island of Tsushima,
Mhm.
and they point out landmarks, and they just talk about the real history behind
Mhm.
everything, and what give more context to what you see in the game. And I think that's really cool. Again, it showcases how much they've looked into this, research, cared, been in partnership with, in making an authentic game.
Mhm.
Um, that you could go travel there, use this as a guide to like
Right.
see these spots and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I might be like a total nerd for saying this, but I love this, and I think this should happen more. Like, we were talking
Mhm.
about, like the promo that was going on for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I was like, "Oh man, that, like the opening footage during the event was, all about like the research team and how they went to England, they went to Norway, they went to all these places and, like, did their research, and like the footage was just so beautiful. And I would love to see more of that. Like, I would love to see
Yeah.
more of like a cooperation and, like kind of a deep dive into like, this is the research we did and this is what this is based on. And, let me kind of like show you around and almost act like a tour guide, so you can like almost
Yeah.
feel the authenticity. And I think that would honestly encourage people to visit these places, because to me that's something so special and unique and cool to see, elements of realism in something that you've played and you feel connected with and put hours of your
Yep.
life into. So I would love to see more of this. I just think this is so cool. And it's, I don't know, I sort of love like educational tourism. I don't need like a whole, detailed history of a place that I go to, but I love learning like real things
Yeah.
while I'm in a place. Like I
Absolutely.
love, learning a history or a cool story or a background. So
Yep.
yeah, this is just like right up my alley, and I think there should be more of it.
It's so fun. I mean, you could go and you go do a um you know, Ghost of Tsushima tour, like
Yeah.
your little things, you can do it yourself. It's fine or whatever. But they give you like different food that's,
Mm-hmm.
of the time and of the
Right.
location. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So
Yeah. I
more
think,
good things from this game.
yeah, I was going to say, I think this probably, this kind of like a partnership was introduced early, um, with like Lord of the Rings and New Zealand. Like they
Yes.
they did a lot
Yep.
of like cooperative elements. And I think the early iterations of it were very cool before they kind of like, I don't know, made it a little kitschy in, redeveloping, like Hobbiton and stuff like that. And they, like, because they had left the set of
Mm,
Hobbiton there. Um, and they kind
yep.
of like, you know, touristed it up a little bit and got like actors to play roles and things like that. So I think it's like a little, um, on the borderline now, but kind of early on, I think that was one of probably the smartest tourism pairings between media and a country, because
Yep.
everybody after seeing that movie, wanted to flock to New Zealand.
Yep. We have someone in the chat that brings up a kind of cool question. Like,
Okay.
so they ask, what's the worst fandom you're part of? We're talking about
What's
how
the
people just like
worst?
to sit and rage on something. Are you part of a fandom that is particularly toxic, or, you love the content anyways, but that just surrounding it
Yeah.
it's gross.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say, at least right now, not always, but I think right now in this climate, Star Wars fandom is pretty toxic.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair,
Yep.
like nobody's really happy with the last trilogy of movies, and people have gotten downright nasty about it. I mean, I know we did a Star Wars episode and we said things that, we didn't love about the trilogies and ways that could be fixed. But I didn't like start an internet campaign just to like, rail and call for people to boycott movies and, how dare you, mess up this universe, and The Last Jedi, just ruins everything. I mean, I didn't demand like a reshoot of all the movies. I feel
Right.
like Star Wars in particular in this time period right now, or, kind of when those movies were being released, was pretty horrific. And I saw a lot of like regular news stories covering this kind of like online vitriol. And I was pretty disappointed, because I think there's a way to express your disappointment, and I think a lot of people took it overboard.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to like wade through the waters and tell what is like um where the majority sits. It's
Mhm.
always like people always think that Twitter's reality, and there's a bunch of loud people shouting about something on Twitter and like that's reality when it's not, but it's like whoever's shouting the loudest gets the most attention. So it's
Yep.
hard to tell. Like certainly with Star Wars, there was a contingency of terrible people that were unhappy and have unhealthy obsession or whatever. And so they're ready to go. And just like we saw with The Last of Us now, people going and taking it out on the actors
Right.
that portraying these characters. Is just a job, you know?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And
like the
I don't
actress who played
think
Rose
that's,
Tico had to like face down
yep,
like death threats, and people just
yep.
wanted to destroy her. And I just thought that was such an overreach. I mean,
But I think
she's
people
playing a
don't
part like
realize
easy.
how frequent that is, because there is crazy people everywhere. And like, so you can
Yeah.
have something that's so mundane and seemingly uncontroversial, and someone out there is going to think that you should die because of your involvement in whatever. Like, I'm going to, murder your children. And
Mhm.
so, I think that, you know, it, I'm just saying, I don't want necessarily fandoms always gets a bad rap, because there are a few bad apples that are
Mhm.
shouting really loud and getting coverage.
Yeah.
And so it's just hard to tell what's pervasive where sometimes. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'd say you're not far off giving a Star Wars a nod at this point.
yeah, I just
So
like I said, the fact that there were like regular news outlets that were covering the level of hate that was flowing, and like the way that people were demanding rewrites, um and the way that they were like, how dare you tell this story this way, you must reshoot it. It got a little out of control, and it
yep,
probably did start, to be honest, with fewer people than we would think, and then may have just kind of snowballed into something that got a little bit out of control. But yeah, it was a really tough time, and it was really kind of sad to see that people could go that level of negative.
yep. I mean, I would give it. I guess my vote would probably be gaming. Gaming is
Yeah.
probably the space, because it's definitely for all ages, but a lot of the most passionate gamers are very young, very
Mhm.
immature, very full of energy and steam that, like, they could be burning off on playing basketball somewhere, and they're not.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, you get those groups that are pretty awful in the gaming community. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I would agree. Unfortunately, I feel like every gaming event that I've, tuned into, you look at the live stream, then you look at the chat that goes alongside, and it's
mhm,
almost like so negative that people just do it because it's expected to be so
yeah,
negative about everything. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like an afterthought. It's not even like active negativity. It's just like, this is stupid, this sucks, like terrible, where's this, why don't you show this? It's just so like overwhelmingly negative that it's just kind of a bummer. Like, it's like, can you just take
yep.
a second and like, you know, think about what's being presented to you before you just like write something negative offhand. So,
You
I
know,
mean, I disable those
yeah,
chats because I don't find anything like useful in there.
it's not. No, there's
But
nothing meaningful in there. Yeah, absolutely.
but it's disappointing
I
nonetheless. Like, people just get on there just to like trash something.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the Xbox event tomorrow, we're gonna see, if you were to turn in chat, it'll be a whole bunch of people that are not there to see what's there. They're just
Exactly.
there to say how Xbox is trash and PlayStation rules, and go,
Right.
you know,
PlayStation is winning the
it's
console
just,
war. And
yeah,
like,
and just over and over, people will spam it. It's
right.
just, I mean,
Like, I know we've
it's
we've talked about, our opinions on that, but I feel like at least we, try to reason, and I'm not like, putting that up on, um, like the Xbox chat or whatever just to like attack it. It's like,
well,
yeah,
I mean, I
I
think
think
that,
this way, but I don't have to like,
yeah.
especially go on there and like set an alarm just so I can be like, ha ha ha, like I'm trashing you.
It's people that are missing something in their lives. Like, I'm
Yeah,
not going to go. I think Stadia is failing from Google. I'm not going to wait to their next event, go in chat, and then start berating how terrible Stadia is, because,
right.
like, what's the point in that? It's just, So, I mean, obviously this is nothing new. We're not like breaking new ground here, but
Yeah.
it is sad that, it seems like if you want something more reasonable, you kind of have to pay for it. Like I have a tech
Hmm.
journalist that he has his own website, and I pay a subscription to get his premium articles and stuff. And then there's a regular chat and a premium chat. The
Hmm.
premium chat is always like civil. It's people that are willing to pay to be there because they
Right.
care, you know.
Right.
And so yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like that kind of thing should be an option everywhere,
Mhm.
because I feel like the internet is such a place where people can just go and troll stuff, and it kind of ruins your
Yep.
enjoyment of something,
Yep.
you
Well,
know?
it's like on Twitch here. A person can do subscriber chat only. You can do those kinds of things,
Right.
but you know, only obviously needed when you get like many followers or whatever.
Hmm.
But right, yeah, there's elements to that. It's unfortunate you have to do that, but when anonymity is a thing everywhere, and children are allowed on the internet all over the place, it's going to
Hmm.
happen. So,
For sure.
um, well, thanks for the good question, fitness trainer, and thanks for the follow. So that's much appreciated. We always welcome a little detour if it's gonna open up some discussion. So,
Absolutely.
um, moving on to, I don't know if I have a good okay. Well, here's another. I mean, a potentially toxic toxic fandom. Comic books. I mean,
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is working on a comic book, which is
Hmm.
pretty cool, helping develop a comic book that is called Berserker, but spelled
Yeah.
out funny. And I don't know. I'll give it a shot. Keanu Reeves is cool, so
Yeah.
I'll see what his comic book is.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of light on the story, but of course, any preview is really
Yeah.
going to be, it's just a general outline of what it's going to do. Yeah, it
Yep.
was funny when I saw the Berserker, like BRZKR, I was like, man, we're like car license plating this title.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought it was interesting that, if it does well, it could get picked up for a possible like live action show on Netflix,
Hmm.
in which Keanu already expressed that he wanted to play the main character. And I was like, well, on the one hand, cool. Like, I would obviously watch it because I love Keanu. On the other hand, like looking at the illustrations, this guy is jacked. So Keanu's gonna have to like get on some, Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth sort of like training regimen and just like beef up, because I don't know that he could play a skinny berserker.
Well, so um firstly, like I love Keanu Reeves, but we do need to have an awareness here. Like you don't want to go down the path that Liam Neeson did. Like
Yeah.
Liam Neeson is awesome, but
Hmm.
then so he was in what's that movie franchise called?
Taken.
Taken. Once
Ugh,
he's in that, then
best.
everybody's coming out of the woodwork to try to get Liam Neeson to be an action guy that's
Yeah.
going to beat up someone that has special skills. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, Keanu Reeves, like just, we have John Wick already,
Right.
and we're going to have
Which
another
works.
Matrix movie. Yep. So isn't that enough
Mhm.
kicking butt? you know, like we could
Yeah.
have his other little roles. Like he did a little role in Neon Demon. He
Yep.
did his role in that, what's that dating one? Like the guy, it's like an all Korean cast. It was
Oh,
like
Always
a
Be My
romantic.
Maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Hmm.
hilarious. That was
You
so good.
know,
That was such a great, yeah. Yeah, I
mm,
appreciated his, like, cameo in that,
yeah.
because it was, like, very, like, I'm Keanu Reeves playing Keanu Reeves, like, you know, kind of amped up to the nth
Mhm.
degree, so that was very fun. But yeah, I
And he's gonna be in
agree.
Bill and Ted.
I
You know.
agree. I think the nice part is, like, he's at least, doing these roles that are different, they're not all action.
Yep.
Like he was in Always Be My Maybe. he did Destination Wedding with Winona Ryder, which is like a, kind of indie rom-com, not,
Mhm.
typical. Like you said, he's going to be in the new Bill and Ted that's coming out. So it's at least a variety. Whereas I feel like Liam Neeson really got trapped in the action world.
Yep.
There was
Yep.
so much of it at once. And it just like got pushed over I think the moment where Liam Neeson fell over the cliff was The Gray, where he's like
Okay.
facing
Yeah.
off against a pack of wolves.
Yep.
Like, I think the concept of the movie was cool, but then people were like, wait, what? He's fighting wolves now? Like, how do you
I mean, I've
it's,
watched Wolverine fight wolves, and that's cool. So
it just, yeah, it like stretched the bounds of believability a bit. And people were like, okay, like, we need to take a step back. And I think that was one of the last kind of, runs of action movies starring Liam Neeson that happened. So
yeah.
yeah, so Keanu's got to watch it because he's on like a really great run right now. He's sort of having a renaissance, but
Yes.
I think if he does too much, he could really push it over the edge as well.
Yep. Yep. We don't need overload here, and
Right.
like we want, make John Wick stands out, and
Mhm.
Neo from the Matrix stands out. These different
Mhm.
characters stand out. You don't want them to start blending together.
Right.
And I'm sure he was probably asked, like, would you want to play this role? And he's like, well,
Mhm.
sure. I'm writing this, I'm putting stuff into it.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. Is it was he's maybe not writing it for himself, but it
Right.
was asked of him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it'd be on his wish list to do, but he maybe in
Mhm.
reality wouldn't do it.
Mhm.
Which I think
But
makes
speaking of,
sense. Like, I don't know. I'm just like going again with like the physical part. Like when I think of a berserker, I just think of like, roided out, very like ripped guy.
yeah.
And it just doesn't equate in my mind with Keanu.
Well, their illustration here looks like the True Blood guy, the werewolf.
Oh yeah.
That's
Alcide,
what this looks like. Yeah.
Joe Manganiello
Yeah.
or
That's what he
Manganello. I
looks like.
can never pronounce his last name.
But
But yeah,
have
yeah.
do you remember Speed, the movie Speed?
Yeah, of course I do. I love that
I
movie.
mean,
The original one,
Keanu
right?
Reeves.
Not
Yeah,
Speed 2 with the boat.
I still like that one, but yeah, Willem Dafoe, like putting the leeches on, but yeah, Keanu Reeves was jacked in that movie.
He was, yeah.
He had pumped up, so he's has that potential. He's just a tall, lean guy, so it's
Mhm.
going to take a lot to do that, I suppose. And he's a little older now and stuff. So do you want to put
Sure.
that kind of wear and tear on your body? It was the same as Hugh
Exactly.
Jackman. He's kind of done with these transformations, having to live like that when you're middle aged.
Yeah, it's just a
So
lot harder to
yep,
both, bulk up and then, kind of lose that in a natural way.
yep. Well, and some people like The Rock, he clearly this is just how he lives, and it's
Yep.
so integral to who he is, that that's just the way it's going to be. But other people, they don't, they do this stuff for a role,
Yep.
and like you look at Hemsworth, and he's thin. You look at even Captain America, he's
Yeah.
thinner. Like these people don't maintain the 12 chicken breasts a day diet,
Right.
kind of thing. So
Yeah. Alan was reading my mind there. Wow, he said Christian Bale. I mean, he's just
yeah,
obviously one who yo-yos up and down. Um,
yep,
when you see like him in American Hustle, gaining all that weight, like which he actually did, and then you see him in like The Machinist, where he's friggin' 10 pounds soaking wet. It's crazy how he can yo-yo around and still somehow be healthy.
yep.
Although who knows if he
Uh,
is.
our fitness trainer in the chat says it's once you become the meme, it's hard to escape the typecast, and
Mhm.
that's definitely true. But like we talked the other week about how Keanu Reeves, or not Keanu Reeves, how Michael Keaton didn't want to be
Yeah.
typecast as Batman, and then
Yeah.
didn't continue on. It's like sometimes you should just take the job too.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just, that's not problem Keanu Reeves has, I'm sure. But like they want to work, and you take the job and be happy with embracing what you are. Like Harrison Ford, he tried to break out of his I'm the everyman action hero that really knows how to show he's taking a punch, with the what's that one? These
Yeah.
where he's that guy, like underwater or under the bridge, whatever it
Yeah.
was. And it was fine, you know, but people don't want to see him as that. They want to see
Right.
him as Han Solo, Indiana Jones, and saving the president, and what, you know, like that kind of thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think of somebody like Jason Isaacs. He is the villain
oh
in
yeah.
everything. And
Mhm.
I've seen him like once in a role where he was the good guy, and I was just like, wait, like the whole time I was like waiting. I was like, what are you gonna
Waiting for him
do?
to turn.
Yes. Yes,
Paths are you gonna
exactly.
murder heartlessly?
Yes,
Hmm.
seriously. It was like Castlevania when he was like the
Oh
priest. No,
yeah,
not the priest.
yeah.
The like the
He's the
town
town.
magistrate,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
judge or whatever. And I was just like, when he turned on everybody, I was like, of course he would, because he's Jason Isaacs and he is a villain. And like, I feel like
Yep.
that's an example maybe of a typecast that's been very successful. And Jason Isaacs has clearly just embraced it and been like, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I'm known for. And he does a damn good job.
Yep. Right. Yep. If you're like overweight and kind of silly looking, you be the like bumbling funny
Lovable
friend, you
doof.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, you know, it's just whatever. But yep. Well, for people like Keanu Reeves that can take and pick their roles, yeah, absolutely. You know, be careful, I guess, with that. So,
Hmm.
in other like comic book world related news,
Hmm.
I guess I should have put this later because it's DC and it ties to our show we're gonna get into later. Did you watch the interview with Zack Snyder?
I did. Yeah, absolutely. How could I not? I mean, I feel like there's so much hype surrounding the Snyder cut of the Justice League that, this better be amazing.
Mhm.
I
But
just I feel like it's supposed to like turn DC on its head or something. And I thought it was actually really nice that Snyder was in there trying to like temper expectations. On the one hand, he was like, I really am excited to see, my version of the film come out, and it feels very validating for me as a, creative director and artist. But on
mhm,
the other hand, like for me, the movie is, how many years old? Like, what can it really do to reset, the DCU, which has gone on without, my version of Justice League. So it was
mhm.
nice because I just feel like there's so much hype that he is like, wow, there is so much pressure on me to deliver when I can't even do anything. Like I'm not creating new content to respond to this pressure. It's just like stuff I created years ago.
Well, for anyone that's interested in watching it, it's on the YouTube channel Beyond the Trailer, and
Hmm.
it's that Zack Snyder interview. Go ahead and take a look at it. But it's um, what was interesting to me is how, and other sites have picked this up now, that um, he is making sure you understand this isn't really, he doesn't really see this as part of a universe or a continuum with everything else.
Yeah.
He's like, he sees this film, Batman versus Superman, and Superman as the films. Those are like his three films.
Yep.
And he likened it to how you get often an acclaimed author, artist, or whatever, an Alex Ross or something, to do a special series or mini series or set of comic books, that is standalone. It's its own
Yeah.
story, doesn't necessarily tie in with everything else. And so, like, to me, this is all like, oh well, isn't that convenient? You know, like
Hmm.
clearly they were trying to set up one giant everything connects. Well, that
Hmm.
didn't work out so well for you, so now this is my
Yeah.
vision in three films or whatever. So it's kind of disappointing that it's not going to be the thing that, you know, no matter how good it becomes, it's not going to be
Yep.
that thing that connects everything. But I guess it's good that they're not going to try to shoehorn everything into this somehow,
I agree.
like he really is maybe making the film he wants to make and the cut he wants to make.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going to get. That's it.
Well, and honestly, it's not, in my view anyway, it's not Zack Snyder's job to tie the DCEU together. You know what I mean? Like, execs should have made that decision and made the planning possible, made better judgment calls about, the way they wanted to approach it if it was going to be this like extended connected universe like Marvel. Like, I'm sorry, it's not your director's job that you don't hire for every single movie. If Zack Snyder shot every single movie in the DCEU, yeah, that is part of his job then to make those creative decisions. But because he didn't, like, I just can't put that on him. Like you said, it's disappointing, and it is kind of like a weird, like, kind of afterthought explanation of like, oh yeah, well, it's because these are, their own series. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's not on Snyder.
It sounds like they're giving him so much money for this, and why? Like, why? I don't understand. Like,
yeah,
it made sense when if it was going to be a thing like that, people were convinced, wow, this is amazing, it's going to be great, and this is somehow going to save face for the DCEU. But if it's really its own standalone thing, why are they investing in this? Wouldn't they be worried about going forward? With hey, can we stand on Wonder Woman here? Is this next film great? And let's get moving on the next one. And how can we move forward, not look back and have this altered version of something that didn't do well? I don't know. It seems an odd choice that they're giving him all the money to do this.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that sums up the DCEU. It's an odd choice. Like, they've been so full of odd choices that I guess I don't even blink at a new one.
Well, and now there's talks. I don't know if it's credible at all. Now there's talks about how Wonder Woman 1985 may be used to reset 84. Yeah, be used to reset.
Yep.
The universe in ways, because clearly they're playing with time here.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know what they have up their sleeve. It's easy to speculate. It's easy to come up with comic booky answers for things, but then realize that maybe it doesn't translate to film for mass audiences. So. Yeah. But.
Yeah.
Interesting interview, anyways.
Yeah, we'll see whenever the heck Wonder Woman 1984 actually comes out.
Oh my God. And we could start on a whole nother thing with that. Like, I'm so upset. And like, I'll jump to that now because Tenet, Christopher Nolan's movie Tenet, is delayed again now indefinitely. Yep. There's no date on it.
Yep.
And it's just, I mean, I don't understand. I know Nolan saying that this is a movie that should be seen on big screens in a theater. But I mean, do you guys want to make money here or not? If you want to make money, put your films out. People are home and will buy these things.
Absolutely.
They will buy them. I don't understand. Like, what is this is, I swear there's a mafia that it runs the theater networks, and they're coming for you. They're gonna cap you. They're gonna take out your knees. It's Stewie from Family Guy if you don't put the movie in their theaters.
Yeah,
it's just, Tenet. You tell me you couldn't bank. I mean, look how much Apple paid for Tom Hanks' new movie. How much do you think they would be willing to pay for Christopher Nolan's movie exclusive for 6 months?
Exactly.
Insane amounts of money.
Yeah, I feel like it's just so painful at this point, because with these like multitude of delays that keep happening, they're like, oh, just like, a few months. But like, if you keep saying it's a few months, it's a few months. Like, I'd rather you just like push it out a year at this point and feel like that's a more firm date, rather than feel like I'm being strung along because you keep pushing it out and pushing it out and pushing it out. Because now I just like don't even believe a release date Do you know what I mean? Like it's like I've been played too many times and I've been told too many times, like, oh, we're just like delaying a month, or we're just delaying, another couple months. Now we're into 2021. It's like you should have just done that in the first place. Like either do that, commit to that, or keep your release date and, like you said, make it available on a streaming platform because people will pay for this. Just do it. Like
Yeah.
either or do both if you want to, but I hate this like tease of, like, oh, it's like coming, it's coming, it's coming, and it just is like, when?
I would have been more excited for, say, Black Widow if they said, hey, it's not going to come out in a theater, but we're going to release it today for purchase.
Yeah.
$25 on your platform of choice.
Yep.
I'm like, great. I know what I'm doing tonight. Buying this movie and we're watching it. That's perfect. Yep. It's cheaper than going to the theater and, whatever the cost of snacks are and stuff there, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Having to deal with someone loud or smelly next to you, whatever, like, done deal. Yeah. But now, like, what's it going to do for the excitement? Think of the money they have to spend to re-advertise all these things at some point. The whole new campaign.
Yeah, and you do. And you definitely do, because people don't know when release dates are anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you have an idea in your head and you're like, oh, I should be looking forward to this or whatever. It's like the general public is like, where did that movie go? I thought it was released, or I don't know where it went, or, oh, it's coming out now. So yeah, this seems like a double shot in the foot to me.
I guarantee, like, if it's this winter or next spring, if they say that Black Widow's coming out and they start the ads again, there'll be a bunch of people, tons of people that'll be like, didn't that movie already come out?
Exactly.
Didn't we already see that? Did we see that one already? Honey, did we see that one already? Like, because confusion, like, it's just, you've already gone through this. You've killed the hype.
Yep.
I swear, I'm going to go conspiratorial here. It's some sort of mafia that is making these, even Disney's afraid of them. I don't know. Like, it's just, what is going on?
Be careful, John. Don't get on their radar if they've got Disney on the run, man. I'll sign on to our podcast next week. Where's John? My God, nobody's heard from him.
Yep. So... well, that's that. Other things we have to look forward to, more comic book stuff. So just quickly, Comic-Con at Home is tomorrow.
Yes.
I think IGN is covering that. I don't know what to expect. A lot of the big players aren't showing up. They're all doing their own events. It's just like DC, they're doing their DC fandom, that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see tomorrow. I don't know. Big day. I'm excited. We get the Xbox event, and then whatever, maybe we get a Comic-Con at Home. So hopefully we get something good there.
Yeah.
And then you found this
yes,
like one thing that's actually releasing to a streaming platform.
I know, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
Obviously, and it ties in with comic books as well, since it's Lucifer. Season 5, Part A is coming to Netflix August 21st. Yeah. So Netflix is really fond of doing this now. They like call something one season, but then they have like a part A and a part B. So it's just like sort of like squeezing out some extra episodes, I think, instead of, I don't know why. I mean, it's they release them at like 2 different times, so you like have to wait for the second half, and I don't know. It might be some like good marketing strategy and some good hype, but it sort of drives me crazy a little bit that they're like, why can't we just call something one season? Why do we have to be like season 5, part A and part B? But anyway, side rant there. Yes, Lucifer season 5. It was saved by fans. It was supposed to be done after 4 seasons. Fans rallied, and Netflix was like, all right, we will wrap up this story. Can't leave you on this season 4 cliffhanger, so we'll do season 5. And Part A is coming out in just a month, and they just dropped the trailer. Looks very good. I'm very interested as to what drama is going to be happening, because we're introduced to Lucifer's twin brother, Michael, the Archangel. So I think that's going to be interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, None of my things that I petitioned to have come back were saved. I tell you, save Daredevil.
Constantine.
Save Daredevil. That never happened. Yeah, Constantine. That's honestly why we never really watched Lucifer, because
Sure.
we were bitter with the Constantine thing. It's like, okay, really another British guy with a snarky attitude that is based on a comic book franchise, and this one you're gonna do now? Like, you canceled Constantine
I
to
know.
replace him with, it's like, what?
I know.
So yeah, we never gave it a chance, really.
I would. I mean, if you can get over your bitterness, I totally understand it.
No, I cling to my bitterness. Cling.
Stop being a toxic fandom, John.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
no, I mean, if you give it a shot, I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. It is disappointing. Obviously, I did love Constantine as well, and I still don't understand decisions behind canceling that. But I've been really excited about Lucifer, not only for the main character, but for like the incredible ensemble cast that I think is really some of the major heart of this show.
Well, to me, it just says, like, if you want, don't, if you're trying to make a television show, the networks die. Like,
Hmm.
just let all that go away. Because, yeah, Lucifer was on Fox, right? That's where it started, I believe.
Yes,
And
it was.
Constantine was on Fox, so again, the same network replaced them. And it's just like, there's these weird expectations because the networks can't make any money, that if you're not American Idol in terms of viewers, then you're
Hmm.
not a success, and we can't
Right.
keep you here, and it's not worth it. So don't go to these places. Don't give
Hmm.
your serious, like, gory show like Hannibal to Fox,
Yeah.
local network television. Just don't do it.
Yeah, I feel like Fox in particular has this issue. Um, because I feel like so many shows that have started out on Fox end up getting saved by either Netflix or Hulu. And I
It's
just
because
don't
they, like, if
I just
someone
don't feel it's
there
like
takes
the
a
same.
chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone
Apparently
there takes a
Fox
chance
is
and
like the
convince
least
someone.
risk-taking channel ever, but I just feel like shows on other channels just don't jump to like a streaming service to be saved the way that they do like from Fox.
Well, that's because, like, CBS just has, 36 different NCISs and CSIs or whatever.
That's
I
right.
mean, like, oh, we're just gonna keep. I mean, how many? Let's see, how many cities are there in America? Okay, we're gonna have a
Seriously.
CSI for each one of them, and they're gonna run for 50 years apiece.
But
Quality
they
television, unique
do.
content.
I know, it's crazy, but
They
people tune in
do,
for
I
that
know.
and it just like baffles me because there's just so much of like the same procedural drama that you can watch, I think, without you just
Mhm.
being tired of it. Like
Everything's.
I'm so shocked. I just learned this. Grey's Anatomy is still airing new episodes. I'm like, what do you have to talk about at
Wow.
this point? What else can happen to people in a hospital? I have
I
no idea.
mean, Gray has quite a lot of anatomy to go over.
We're
Like,
not
there's a
quite
lot
done
of
with the
anatomy to
anatomy.
cover there. Yeah, like, we're only midway down the torso.
But seriously,
We
like
got
I was honestly shocked to hear that. Like I really thought it was done.
when
But
I turn on network television, I'm always reminded that this world still exists. Oh
mhm,
yeah, there are these shows. Oh yeah, these little sitcoms. Oh yeah, this game show. Or, like,
right.
I just forget that, like, the 90s or the late
Mhm.
80s. It just feels like that yet. Like, it
Yep.
hasn't changed. I don't know. It's a dying world, and it's dying so slowly. Um, Matt is in the chat, and I think he said true probably to, like, how many CIA CSIs there are and stuff, because there's a lot. Yes, it's pervasive, so,
Yeah,
and silly. Well, I'm glad you're excited about that.
I
Glad that's coming
am.
out.
Yes, it was so
Um,
nice to see. I figured it was delayed like along with the rest of, everybody else's content, but It's actually
Mhm.
here, so we'll see. I'm a little nervous that it's only part A and perhaps part B then is going to be delayed for a while, but at least I'll have something new to watch for a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Well, if we had sponsors right now is when we take a break to like thank our sponsors. Um, but we don't really. So, I mean, I guess in podcast form, we're going to get a sponsor. I won't double it up. It's Anchor. But so maybe we'll have that. But we should like come up with some fake sponsors, like
Mm, yeah.
you know, something with like I use old CDs for coasters. So I need to use some sort of like
Quick, start a business,
I don't
John.
know. I know. Let's do it. This is actually a really cool one. Look at this. This is a Mac form. Maybe if you can see it, it's a
I
Mac
can.
format. See, it's got Indiana Jones on it and stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's pretty fun, right? Back in the day when magazines were your vehicle to everything, and so you get your game demos for your computer or whatever
Yes.
on your
Yes.
disc, your little
Oh my
disc.
God. We're aging ourselves here, John.
Yeah, yeah. Well, aging ourselves. I recently got my Walkman back out, my
Oh my
cassette Walkman,
God. Wow. What
because
kind of cassettes you got for that bad boy?
I don't think I have any hardly. I think I have a Backstreet Boys cassette somewhere
Oh my
that
God.
exists.
Oh, I need to listen to
But
this. That's hilarious.
yeah, Alan says Star-Lord cosplay. Yeah, I know, right? I should.
That's
I
perfect,
I thought
actually.
about
Yeah.
I could get a couple collectors cassettes or whatever, but I got it out because I was reminded because it was storming really badly the one night and our power
Hmm.
was going in and out. And we have a local radio station that I could tune into,
Oh,
but
sure,
it's like,
sure.
well, I don't have a radio on anything. Well, oh yeah, my Walkman that,
Yeah.
that hasn't go yet. So,
Going old school.
mhm. And then that sent me down a rabbit hole. It's like, maybe I should look at the new Walkmans. Like they're cool. New Walkmans, they're like, anywhere between I don't know, 50 and $1,200,
Right.
depending on the kind you want and stuff. And anyways, I don't know how I got started on that. Oh, aging ourselves. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Well, this is the extra spoilery part of the show as we get into here
That's
now.
right.
Part two. So we're watching through Doom Patrol, which
Mm-hmm.
is available on HBO Max,
Mm-hmm.
starring all kinds of great people. And we're in the middle of season one. Season two is currently airing. So we're going to try to catch up and get to season two. But
Mm-hmm.
at the moment, we are on episodes 10 and 11. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean,
wow.
we're kind of entering the home stretch. I mean, 10 and 11, there's only 15. So we're like
Okay. Yeah,
we're
we're getting
getting
there.
there. 4 episodes, 2 shows left.
Okay. So yeah, I guess we can talk about that later, but I'm probably gonna have to like miss out on our regularly scheduled next week one. So
Mhm.
maybe we end up wanting to do like skip a week and do a whole finale last week
Ooh, I
kind of
like
thing.
it. Yeah,
And
just
we
do
can
like a
just like,
run.
yeah. So
I like it.
we'll get there. Um Episode 10 was gross.
Yeah.
It was quickly, Matt asks how is HBO Max? He's been thinking about getting it, and
It's good.
I've been happy.
Yeah.
I've been happy with it because it's clean. It's it seems like a well done app,
Mhm.
and they're clearly moving the DC stuff to it,
Yep.
stuff that's trapped on DC Universe. So Doom Patrol being one of those really good shows, and
Mhm.
then like we watched our samurai movie for last week
Mhm.
that was available on there, so that's
Mhm.
great. Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember what different kind of partners HBO has been, grabbing content from. It usually appears like on the bottom of my screen, and I think about it every time. But of course, now I couldn't name a single one. But it's been really nice. I think the diversity of content that's been on there, I've been very surprised. I think when it first sort of initially like launched, and I air quote that because I think it was a bit of a bungled launch because people weren't aware of like where to go, how to get it, was it free, was it
Yeah.
not to existing subscribers. So then they did like a relaunch just a little bit ago, and we're like very clear on, okay, if you had any sort of HBO, here it is, it's free for at least a year. We're
Yeah.
kind of doing a re-release a little bit smoother. So I've been really impressed with it as well. Like since that, I signed up to get my free year, and it's been pretty great.
My only complaint is the, like, I'm worried of the censorship path that they're taking, where like there's a couple episodes of South Park that aren't included, and
Mm,
like they're worried about the violence in the Looney Tunes shows and different stuff like that, because those are, I mean, HBO is part of AT&T, Time Warner Media, all that stuff. So it's giant. So they got tons of things to pull from. So when you get the
yep.
Looney Tunes and you get the South Park, those are great gets because they're included. Adult Swim, like that's
Mm-hmm.
that's part of this,
Right.
So it's great, but I don't want to see then that this is supposed to be the place that we go for that stuff, and then they're going to just decide to
Right.
take certain episodes out of whatever. So I don't like that, but otherwise I've been happy with it. So
Yeah, it seems strange for HBO because they're just so
mhm.
known for being an adult channel that it's like, why
Right,
do you need to be so concerned about, kid-friendly
right,
content? And if you really are that concerned, like pull a Netflix and create like kid-specific channels and
yep,
get their own profiles or whatever, and limit what they can
yep,
have access to. So, yeah, I
yep.
find that very
Just give
strange
people
as
the
well.
choice. People the choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So okay. Yes. Anyways, I was so thankful I wasn't eating during episode 10.
oh my God, so gross. I definitely like had strong gag reflex. Like it
Is
was not
I
good.
looked away at part of it. It's
Yeah.
like that's just about as bad as you can show me. I mean,
Yeah.
like someone's guts pouring out is less disturbing
I agree.
than the eating the hair out of a drain,
Yes.
like up close, and like I'm feeling it right now. It's a,
I know. Like
see,
my throat is tightening right now a little
yeah,
bit. Yeah, yeah, we should probably give some context for the weirdness and the grossness that happens in this episode. Um, so we're kind of, in episode 10, we get this like short little intro delving into Niles, the chief's past, and he's like up in the Yukon territories exploring with a partner, and they get attacked, and he has to run and fend for himself. Um, and then we cut from that sort of like wilderness survival moment to like this very 80s feel of a grown man living with his mom in a basement, and he goes shopping for her and gets approached by the Bureau of Normalcy, and is like, we're recruiting you to go find Niles. And he's like, yeah, beard hunter activated. And it's just such like a weird, like, that's your name, like beard
yeah,
hunter. It doesn't really make sense until like the next scene we see of him. He's in the mansion, you know, like faux awful, kind of like action movie starring his way through the hallways, getting to the bathroom, reaching a claw down into the drain and pulling out Niles's hair and eating it. And it's, oh my God. Side note, so when he like reaches the claw down into the drain and pulls out the hair, like I thought there was like some strands of hair or whatever, and all of a sudden like when he puts it in his mouth, it's like a whole ball. It's like a chunk. Like I was just like, why did you have to make it worse like that? Like I was already grossed out by him like just pulling the hairs out of the drain, and then he just like, fur balls it into his gullet, and that was just disgusting. That was one of the grossest things I've ever seen. And like you said, I can sit through gore. I can sit through, besides gore, I was thinking of like the grossest thing I've ever seen in a TV show was early Supernatural, when they were trying to figure out how to do skinwalkers, and they like slowly ripped off a guy's skin. Like, I sat through that better than I sat through this guy swallowing some drain hair. Like, until this moment, I thought that was the grossest thing I'd seen on TV, and like, no, this topped it for sure.
Yeah. What comes to my mind is like Mysterious Girlfriend X, and she's like having him drink his
Oh my God,
drool,
yeah.
her drool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not as bad, but it is like a hands up, like you do all the time kind of thing. It's like a, yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You just get uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I did like this character though. He definitely fit with the show, I thought,
Yes.
in this odd way.
Yes.
And at how he was, it's one of those, don't underestimate someone. Like, he was a serious threat, like this bumbling idiot that's called the Beard Hunter. But yeah, he was actually a threat. So
yeah.
And you can see what he did to Cyborg. So
yeah. He just, I mean, every time he was on the screen, I just felt like I was in some sort of like faux 80s movie.
Yeah. Maybe like the Goonies or something. If they were adults now, what would they be like? And they're gonna try to relive their
or like the first season of Stranger Things with like the kids. Like, they think they're like going to investigate stuff before they like sort of really get used to like the world of 11 and like, everything that's strange that goes on there. They're just sort of like racing around on their bikes, like all dressed up in like their, Ghostbusters gear, thinking like, we're going to do some stuff. And that's what this guy felt like. He felt like a grown-up kid racing around like, I'm going to do the stuff.
Yep.
But then he just looked like a moron. And then, then shit got real. But yeah, for a while there, I was like, who is this creepo?
Yep. So that was very interesting. And his fate was very odd. And they didn't answer it in the next episode. So I will be interested to see if we follow up on this character and what has become of him and where he ended up and all that.
Yeah. I think it does, to kind of take it back to the last episode, this sequence where, the Bureau approaches him and says like, desperate times, we need to work with you. Sort of goes back to my point about, they say that, they're sworn to destroy everything that's odd and paranormal, but they don't mind using it for their advantage. So that it's sort of like this like justification of like, well, we can use one freak to wipe out all the other freaks. So
it's like, I'm here to defend your freedom, and in order to do so, I'm going to take away your freedom to defend it.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Whatever it is. Yeah. Yep. So he was fun. The other gross element comes in the quickly, I don't know if it's quickly, but unexpectedly personal relationship that Niles had with Nature Lady.
Yeah. Nameless woman, hairy woman.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited to see more of his past and what he's gone through, Niles. But I didn't need to see the hairy boob.
That was an interesting level of realness.
I mean, I guess the person gets lonely.
Yeah, I that whole background sequence was very interesting. Because I thought it was important context for showing how the Bureau of Oddities, which Niles used to work for, and was just like about exploring and finding things out and, studying and reporting back, became this sort of like harsh, we need to safeguard and destroy the very things we were once sent to find, and, how that organization kind of took a turn. So I thought that was really interesting, both to provide that background and then also to provide some context for Niles and like, this guy who, as weird as it was sort of like kidnapped by this woman, kind of shacked up with her for a while, maybe like some Stockholm syndrome kind of thing happening. I have no idea how
Sure.
they suddenly jumped into a romantic relationship, because it didn't really seem like it was headed that direction in the beginning. Um, but he, however strange it was truly happy, and then had to give it up to, kind of
Yep.
protect her. Provides a lot of context, I think, for who Niles is and some of the choices that he makes. So, as strange as it was also really interesting.
Yep. It was. It was. I mean, I still feel like Niles has so many questions to be answered with him, but it was good
Absolutely,
to just
yeah.
get a little peek in here and to see Mr. Nobody back.
Yes,
We
I
had
was so
talked about like,
happy.
hey, it's time for him to show up again, so he did.
Yes.
Yeah, even though it was small. Like
Mhm.
those moments were great to me. Um, right at the end, I I wrote down two lines. One was you've because Mr. Nobody's talking to Niall. He says, "You've always been a man of compromise. After all, you fell in love with a Canadian." Ah, I laughed pretty good at that one. And then I love the moment with again, I just loved seeing the two of them act really.
Yeah, mhm.
Timothy Dalton has like a commanding element to him, and he eventually shouts at Mr. Nobody, I don't care what you do to them, I will not give you the satisfaction of breaking me.
Mhm.
And that shows you again a little bit, it's another little peek into who he is. He is a
Yeah.
man now of we've seen that. I think this backstory was designed to show us some of that. It is how he came to be a guy that I'm not a hunter, I'm like scared and you like protect me and I'm just here to explore and have fun and stuff kind of, versus like, okay, I'm a little more hardened now. I've had to
Right.
survive and I have things to fight for and whatever. And so now
Right.
he's yeah, he's
I've killed
kind
my
of
friend to protect.
yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
that scene was
So
shocking
now
to me.
here he's like, I don't care what you do to my
Mhm.
people. I'm not going to let you break me. That's an interesting decision, like
Yeah.
a hard line decision.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wasn't sure how true that was. Um,
Sure.
because
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure that, like, he could stop Mr. Nobody from doing anything to them anyway.
Right.
Um, so I mean, what does it really cost him to say, like, I don't care what you do to them? It's like, what is he going to do to Mr. Nobody anyway? And if he told him everything he wanted to know, would Mr. Nobody really leave them alone? Mm,
Right.
doubtful.
Yeah.
But I mean, on the other hand, it was a strong moment for him, and it's a possible glimpse into, more complexity of, how much does he really care about, the members of this pseudo Doom Patrol. Um, because we've already gotten
Yep.
some hints where, you know, people have been surprised at his actions. Like Jane, of course, is still feeling that sting
Yep.
of, she was going to be put into that home with the old Doom Patrol, and how could Niles do that to her? I mean, she brings it up in this episode, I believe, again, or possibly possibly the next episode. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's got some explaining to do, in terms of, how much he really cares about the members of this little group.
Yep. I love your note because I thought the exact same thing. Same thing. The fire is right there. Cook the
Yes.
goddamn fish, Niles. Because it's like, Harry Lady throws him a fish and he just
Right.
like starts biting into it when the fire is roaring right there. It's like, yes,
Right.
roast this fish, please. Like, what are you
Like,
doing? You're gonna get sick.
I mean, at this point, like, she's obviously trying to keep him alive and wasn't like trying to keep him from the
Yeah,
fire like she did before. So I was like, seriously,
right.
man, like, there's no call for this.
Hmm. Right.
Yeah, that was another just like randomly kind of like gross. Like, what are you doing?
Hmm. Yep. Well, it was an interesting relationship. It was I'm not sure that we ultimately got much out of like what she or this creature
Mhm.
was, or if that really matters.
Yeah.
Just the fact that his eyes were open to a larger world at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly hint at the end of the episode with the creature coming back. As Beard Hunter
Oh,
like finds that sort of like faux, like almost scarecrowish looking doll because it's made out of like his face
yeah.
is made out
Mhm.
of burlap or whatever. So he finds that sort of like faux Niles doll locked in what looks like a storage unit. And then, this like wolf, saber tooth, stag, bear thing. It's so many composite animals. I don't even know what to call it. But he like pops up behind him, and he's
Yep.
there all of a sudden. So it's like possibly something is going to keep happening, and we're going to get some more context for this. It's a
To
hint
me,
anyway.
that was Mr. Nobody playing with him because he knows now that he has that image of his past, that he's like bringing that image forward to destroy
Miss
him.
Mr. Nobody was bringing that forward for Niles or for the Beard Hunter or
For the Beard Hunter. The Beard
Oh,
Hunter
oh,
is
okay.
tracking
Gotcha, gotcha,
Niles,
gotcha.
so he gets to where he thinks he is, and it's like,
Gotcha.
this is a
Yeah, yeah,
trap
yeah.
now. Mhm.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's certainly a possible explanation and one I hadn't thought of. But I think it would not surprise me. It would be in line with sort of Mr. Nobody's ability to get inside people's heads and play with their minds, play with their memories. Because obviously, I think part of this whole episode, the point is to show that Niles is reminiscing in his captivity or whatever, and Mr. Nobody's basically watching along with him. He's inside his head.
Yep. Right.
Um, and
Yep.
I think that sort of hints to maybe some of the troubles that Vic is having. Cyborg with his grid. His grid seems to be,
Yeah.
kind of growing almost self-aware and making decisions without him and like doing things to his body that he's
Mhm.
not aware of. It seems corrupted and tainted. Um, and I think in my opinion that has something to do with Mr. Nobody in the way that he left that whole interaction where he snatched Niles back from Doom Manor and set off Cyborg's sonic cannon like a couple episodes back. I always thought he did something to like mess with Cyborg and mess with his programming, and I just sort of feel like maybe this is some sort of payoff from that.
Yeah, it's definitely a mystery. Like, how much is Vic's dad involved? Like,
Mhm.
how much control does he have? Is this something really that's spinning out of control, or
Right.
is it this more of a what his father has planned for him? Or yeah, is it more Mr. Nobody's fault?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's definitely he's definitely a conundrum. That would be like he is. I think sometimes we, or I do anyways, underestimate his plight because he doesn't act like a victim.
Mhm.
He's not there moping like some of the others. He's like, oh, I'm gonna get things done, and then like we're gonna make this work. And so
Right.
you don't. But like he would, but his situation would be pretty terrible. Like
Mhm.
feeling like you're really literally losing control of yourself in that fashion. And
Right.
we're gonna get some real what's it to be human, ghost of the shell kind of stuff potentially if we keep going down this road. So
Yeah, I mean to kind of jump into the next episode, I thought the conversation that Vic was having with Grid, when he sort of like takes him out and takes him offline and decides to, talk to him about what's been going on. I felt like some of the answers from Grid were a little like smart alecky. They when I read them, they just
yeah,
had like they carried a
yep,
tone to me that just made me think
yep.
of like the snarkiness of Mr. Nobody. So
Mm,
just like
okay.
the sort of irreverent way
Yeah,
that Mr. Nobody speaks and just like his penchant for like breaking the
yep,
fourth wall and like being all like, "Oh, isn't the Doom Patrol so funny?" and like, laugh with me about this
yeah,
incredibly sarcastic thing. So I don't know. I thought it was maybe hinting at it. Could be a red herring. I don't know, but
sure, yeah,
would be interesting if it
yep. it
was,
it didn't sound like
connected.
a neutral program, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
So well, before we get fully into the next episode, I wanted you to take a moment, if you would, to talk a little bit about your deeper commentary on this
Oh, sure.
episode 10 about men not being animals, and that
Yeah.
or being animals rather. So
Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting, kind of shuffling back to Niles's Yukon Territory adventure and the his first moments of talking to this woman who's captured him. Um, and he's referencing like the numerous bodies that are littered around the cave of dead men who are just kind of just sitting there. And he starts shouting at her, I'm not going to be like them. How could you leave them like this? They're not animals. They deserve a proper burial. And I thought it was just like a weird thing to get stuck on because honestly, in the scheme of things, like are men that different from animals? Like do they deserve some sort of like burial just because that's what we expect? Like what would a burial really do for these men? um
mm,
because I feel like burials are things for the other people, but burials are things for the living. Burials are times for people to mourn, to experience their loss, to talk, to share, to celebrate a life. If those people aren't there, what is the point of a burial? Like, why can't we just go
yeah,
like old school nature rules? Like when animals, kill each other, they just like leave a corpse out there and it, feeds back into the earth all the same, and it's not
yeah,
undignified. It's not just, cruel. It's I've killed, I've, survived. I'm leaving, what essentially is an animal out here, because there's no other option. It's going to sink back into the earth and become one with the earth again. And I just feel like I don't know. I just thought it was like, oh, well, this will be the same for these guys.
I think that what it comes down to is that tradition is really hard to break.
Mhm.
For millennia, people didn't understand when someone closed their eyes and then didn't open them again,
Mhm.
like what was going on, and so the attempt for generations and generations and generations to explain that leads to, well, they're going on to another part of
Mhm.
another existence. And so you start building these traditions around, well, we need to do this step and this step to ensure that they make it to that
Mhm.
other existence, that other
Mhm.
life, an afterlife or whatever. And so the burial becomes really important in that sense,
Mhm.
like, give them the coins and the eyes, because otherwise they don't have the money to pay the boatman to get across the
Mhm.
river Styx, or whatever. We're gonna take out these organs and then put them in these certain jars. So it becomes these traditions that are
Right.
important to the understanding of the burial is a method to ensure someone is properly transported to the
Mhm.
afterlife. And so we just continue that on because it's been ingrained in every culture on the earth
Mhm.
forever, for so long,
Right.
that, yeah, it seems disrespectful to not have whatever your traditions say a proper burial is.
Mhm.
um there's a hubris to a need to be remembered as
Mhm.
well, to be
Yep.
memorialized, and that you'd have a spot that you'd return to for this or whatever. But yeah, it's not more honorable,
Mhm.
or in my mind more dignified, to be placed in a solid steel box
Mhm.
in the ground. um but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was, to me, I read it as like he's freaking out. Niles is
Yeah.
freaking out in the situation. He's worried about becoming like one of them,
Mhm.
dead and forgotten.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, and I could see that. It was just I think an interesting tack, especially the way that he speaks, of these men saying, "Well, we're not animals." As if, we're
right.
men, we're so much better than animals. And it kind of got me thinking about some of the I mean, it kind of got a little deep, but it kind of got me thinking about, like, some of the actions of mankind, and are we really better than animals? We separate ourselves by our ability to think, our ability to reason, but I think those things, kind of like I wrote in my note, they can be beautiful and wonderful, and we can do amazing things, but they can also be used for far crueler and destructive, um, kind of imaginings than animals would ever dream of. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, our
Yeah.
ability to be cruel and to destroy far eclipses that of an animal. And so really, like, we set ourselves above, like, the animal kingdom, but how much of that is really justified, and
Well,
how much better are we than animals, I guess.
things are ranked in terms of power. Like when you think of something of greatness or whatever, like a power level is a thing, and whether it's from
Mhm.
fictional to reality, and intelligence is power. And so
Mhm.
we'll go back to Uncle Ben, and with great power comes great responsibility. It's we have a power like no other animal does. And it doesn't make us better, but
Mhm.
it does make us more great in both the amazing and terrible sense, for
Right.
sure. Um,
Yeah. In this context, I felt like Niles was using it, in a very specific way that I sort of disagreed with, you know.
yeah.
Just to
Yep.
to be so dismissive and just be like, "Well, we are men, like, we can't do this. We're not
Mhm.
animals." And it just, like, made me think, like, "Well, I mean, are you really better than an animal?" And I think by the end of his stay with this woman, still don't really know what to call her. He doesn't really, like, prop himself up so much, and he doesn't really rely on, like, the traditions and the, sort of, like, ceremonial trappings of humanship. And I think he reaches, like, a different place, but I thought it was an interesting place for him to start.
Yeah.
Like, trying to be like, "Oh, well, we can't do this." Like, I'm clinging to my cultural beliefs and sort of imposing them here, and then by the end, I think he was, singing a different tune, I guess.
Mhm. I think in practice, often person can make the argument that humans aren't better than animals, but at
Mhm.
the same time, it's kind of one of those aspirational things that you be like, well, do you want to just be an animal? Do you want to live like an animal? Because humans have a civilization, which is kind of dependent upon, in a way, um, something a little greater than the individual, or it's like an
Mhm.
agreed upon system on a larger scale to make civilization possible.
Mhm.
And animals, though they have um, maybe packs and that kind of
Mhm.
thing, don't have civilization.
Right.
And so, I mean, there are certain things that civilization brings that along with it, and cultural, like tradition, it being one of those things,
Mhm.
um, that animals are never going to have.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I liked that you added the comment here, because it's a little bit um, deeper than I think the episode was intending, but it's fun to think about.
Yeah, it was just kind of a thought that struck me in the viewing. Like I said, I mean, to your point, like you said before, I think men are capable of so much more than animals, both in terms of wonderful things like, building civilization and abiding by a set of rules in which, if we have a disagreement with someone, we don't kill over it
Right.
usually. In
Mhm.
the fabric of everyday life. But, like I said, we also can eclipse, like, the cruelty or sometimes the violence that's experienced in the animal world, because animals usually only
Yep.
kill for necessity, whereas, like, humans are very capable of killing for desire or for, far more um intangible reasons such as power. So,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. just an
Yep.
interesting moment to me that stuck out. It was,
Yeah.
I don't know, there were kind of a lot of moments between these two episodes that were very like philosophical, I thought, and this was one of them.
Okay. Well, I'm interested to see what they are in the next one because I didn't
Yeah.
read all your notes. But so episode 11, I loved episode 11.
I did too.
It was very sad. Man, was it sad. But uh
Hmm.
I was I was I was happy to see Larry's past here,
Yeah.
his cathartic moment here, maybe his closure, maybe.
Hmm. Yes.
Um,
Finally moving forward a little bit with Larry.
yes, yep. Yeah. So any big thoughts here? Like I like the way this was done.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought everybody again kind of had very interesting solo adventures or small group adventures
Uh huh.
in this episode. It was about different facets of the group that I think um, will be very important in the next episode, because I feel like everybody will get back in the next episode, because there's a huge cliffhanger at the end that I won't touch yet. Um, but yeah, it was really fun to go, kind of through another background story for Larry, this time instead of Niles. Kind of flashing back and learning a little bit more about his relationship with John, and the way that negative man can kind of use these memories or dreams to communicate with Larry. It
Hmm.
was really interesting, and I
Yep.
felt like their dynamic as like this symbiotic relationship that they have, I felt like that really grew this episode.
Yep. But what was interesting though is I'd always read it that way in the terms of that Negative Man was communicating with Larry, that he was
Yeah,
almost playing the role. And it was really more
I thought
of
that
what
too.
they led us down with Negative Man connecting directly Cliff's mind to Jane's. He was
Mhm.
doing the same thing really for Larry and John
Mhm.
at a great distance. So we kind of
Yes.
found a new power there and filled in that understanding of like what are these visions, what are these
Right.
things that he's experiencing, is this real, or like are you playing so I thought that was pretty groundbreaking in terms of us understanding what Negative Man there is capable of and doing.
Agreed. Yeah, I didn't quite catch that until, the end, sort of, some of Larry's dream sequences, or, flashbacks, memories, whatever these quite are. Um, because I definitely was confused, because I thought in a previous episode that, he was speaking to Negative Man through these,
Mhm.
interactions. So yeah, so I kept wondering why Larry was addressing John as if he was John, when I was like, isn't he Negative Man though? Like, why are you talking to him this
Right.
way?
Yeah.
So yeah, it took me a while to catch on. And then, once I made the connection, that was pretty cool. And it was a really interesting way for, again, Negative Man to communicate.
Hmm. Yep. um so that was pretty powerful, emotional for sure. I was I thought they handled their final scenes together
Hmm.
well. Um, I don't know, just impacted me like the other episodes haven't in terms of emotionality. So it did a good job there.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, like you say, hopefully Larry can move on a little bit now.
Right, right. He's got a chapter of his life that he's really officially said goodbye to, in a
Yep.
meaningful way, that he didn't miss out on, and doesn't need to be quite so bitter about maybe anymore. I mean,
Yep.
there's definitely still, I think, negative associations that won't ever go away, but he got a moment
Yep.
with John, so that was really wonderful. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Um, how about Cliff? Cliff is the other kind of main thing here
Yeah,
going on.
yeah. Cliff and Rita off in the wilds of Florida. That was pretty hilarious. I love that, to kind of start this off. I love that Cliff is figuring Jane out. And sort of like when he wants something, he just like completely ignores
Yeah.
Jane, and he's like, I want to talk to Flit. Like, let me talk to Flit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna bypass you. Flit, you need to take me to Florida. And Flit was like, cool, that sounds good. So that was fun. I feel like
Yep.
even though Jane is still so angry at Cliff, like at least all of her personalities aren't, freezing him out.
Yep.
Um,
Do you wish that he would have just talked to his daughter, or are you happy with how it went?
Tough. I feel like so he and Rita go down there for, her adoptive father's funeral, his former best friend. And, the whole time it's like, I'm going to talk to her, I'm going to be there in this time. And he sort of slowly gets a combination of like talked out of it with also like chickening out, I think. Because it's definitely one of those like setups where it's like these like coincidental things happen just at the right moment when he's about to, speak to her, and this stops him and whatever. Um so yeah, I mean, I was disappointed because I thought it was going to really be a big moment,
Mhm.
and it was going to be this really cool thing for them to be reunited. But
Yep.
also, like, I get it in terms of like plot. Like, if they were reunited, where would the show go? Like, would
Yep.
Cliff be stuck in Florida for a bunch of time where, like the plot really can't have him be in Florida? Is his daughter like, are we, which way is she going to react? Is she going to react well to this and just like accept it and be cool and like we have no
Yep.
more story to explore? Or are we going to take it the like total other way and she's just going to be horrible about it? And like now we've ruined kind of the hope, both in Cliff's
Yep.
eyes and the audience's. So I get it. Like, I was disappointed, but ultimately I didn't treat it like this was going to be their last interaction. So I was
Yeah.
I was disappointed, but I'm still looking for more in the future.
It makes enough sense story-wise that this would happen, and it
Mhm.
serves the pacing of Cliff's story the best. Because
Yes.
now you get the watch, which
Mhm.
she will associate with Robot Guy.
Right. We
Hey,
get
what's
we get a
going
clue for
on?
her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So I think my biggest thing was like, what is with that alligator jumping,
I know,
launching
like
itself
super
through the
alligator.
air? Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually
So,
immediately guessed it was like Mr. Nobody Gator or something, like all the other
yeah.
animals that came around or whatever. But
Same. I wrote a note. I was like, we've seen like sentient cockroaches, rats, donkeys, like we have the horse
mhm,
unicorn prophet. Like, why not have this be like a super special alligator? And then at the end, it was just like a regular alligator. And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't seem feasible at all,
well,
but sure, I'll
you
take it.
know, and maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's an elaborate thing to get for Negative Man to get Cliff to be one person to leave him alone.
Yeah, maybe.
So Negative Man makes Super Gator that kills his best friend that's watching over his daughter. Therefore, that's a chance for a reunion, hopefully pulling Cliff away, and he's going to forget about looking for the chief and
Hmm.
reunite with his daughter.
Yeah.
It's possible yet. It's still
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule anything out. I mean, this universe has some crazy things happen, crazy rules. So, I wouldn't rule anything out, but yeah, it was very weird.
Yep.
But I thought, yeah, like I said,
Um,
I thought that was a fun little adventure. Really moved Cliff along emotionally, kind of on his journey, and then also showcased Rita's talents. Like, she's definitely growing more confident of herself,
yes.
and like she covers for Cliff when he makes a bunch of slip ups. She like, excuses the
Yep.
way he looks to other people. She gets info out of Big D, um, which is just like the best name. But yeah, I mean, she's just so competent. You know what I mean? And I'm really loving
That's
like the growth that she's showing. And I thought this was a great episode for her to do that, even if it was in like smaller ways.
don't you remember that's how I used to always introduce myself at
Big
bars?
D.
Hey, I'm Big
Yeah.
D. Yeah.
Yeah, immediately works on all the ladies.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
suspicious at all.
Well, I wrote in
Did
the
you follow
comments
it up
because
with do you want some chicken? Do you want to split some chicken?
yeah, yeah, yep. I'd
Uh,
order a pitcher of beer for myself.
just sip
Yeah,
it straight out the pitcher.
yeah,
Who needs
hmm
glasses? Silly
yeah.
middlemen.
Classy. Yeah.
uh,
Um, the I I did write a comment because I thought I was waiting for Rita to just start throwing back those wings. I'm like, you watch,
yeah.
she's gonna eat a lot of wings,
Yep.
and there she did.
Yep. I felt
So
that.
it was fun. I also wrote down that I just was surprised at how like what are these people afraid of? How cool everyone's being around a giant robot
Yeah.
dude. Like a giant robot dude walks into this like Florida bar and
Hmm.
everybody's, this Bayou bar and everybody's just kind of like, yeah, that's cool. All right. And then too, if I was in my house and some guy covered completely in bandages with goggles on came up to my door, I wouldn't be answering it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
people are pretty chill about these guys, really.
I read those comments and I was trying to like think about what could be possible explanations for them because you're
Mhm.
right, like this is definitely weird. So for Larry, I thought maybe because like it was John and his caretaker who clearly knows about Larry, who he's clearly told about, extensively. Maybe she
Yeah,
would figure that because she knows about like the horrible accident he was in
yeah,
and would think like, he would cover it up somehow. So maybe it wouldn't,
that's
be so,
possible.
like that, I mean, stretch, but maybe.
Hmm.
The only thing I could come up with for Cliff was so I'm still not clear exactly about the rules of this universe, but I think that at one point in time, there were superheroes that were out in the open, like the Doom Patrol seemed to be pretty well
Hmm.
known. So perhaps they're like not entirely, weirded out by like some
Yeah,
sort of like different
yeah.
kind of figure, superhuman something. I mean, everybody thinks of, like dinosaur vegetable whatever
Cyborg.
man,
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
as
Hmm.
like an oddity, but that's just because he's got like whatever on him. But they don't
Hmm.
seem to be like weirded out by his existence, the possibility of his existence. And like you said, Cyborg,
Yeah,
like, they think about him
yeah.
and, he's part machine. So I don't, yeah, I mean,
That's true.
it's,
Okay.
it's hard because sometimes
I'll
people
give it
seem to
to
be
you.
well, it's hard because sometimes people seem to be freaked out, by this kind of thing, and then other times people take it in stride. So it's like it does
Yep.
mess with your head in a little bit of like, how accepted are these people and how accepted is the strangeness of, their superpower or their different look.
Yep.
So,
I I guess the one other thing I wanted to bring up that I hadn't was about Jane. And I think you wrote a couple
yeah,
things in there about it too. Just how she bothered me a little bit in this episode.
I agree.
How demanding she was and is, looking for like okay, she calls a meeting and expects everyone to be there on time
Yep.
when Cyborg calls a meeting and no one shows, and like, does
Right.
Jane care?
Right. Yeah. She just
So
like
it
yells
just
at him
really
through her
all of a
bedroom to like
sudden,
fuck off. Yeah.
yeah. So all of a sudden she's here and wants to get something done and do
Yep.
whatever, and
Everybody's
everybody's
got to
just supposed
drop
to
it.
jump.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of bothered me.
I agree. She was really needlessly horrible and demanding in the beginning part of this
Hmm.
episode. Like, they as Rita reminds her, like they did go through this thing and it's not like, when she needed them, when she was locked inside her mind, they weren't there for her. And she
Right.
just sort of like blows right past that and she's like, "Well, too bad. I'm not apologizing. Like I don't care what you
Yeah.
went through. Like I don't care what I did to you. Like whatever." I
I
mean,
didn't need your help, or
right,
some
exactly. Which is
comment like you didn't help me or whatever.
Right, which is total bullcrap. Um,
Yeah.
like it's ridiculous. And then, tries to act like all like she doesn't need people and then, really like she needs them to attend this meeting and then, she can't even go meet Francis, this guy's supposed wife alone, like she has to drag Cyborg with her, you know. So she's clearly not as like independent and tough
Yep.
as she thinks she is, but it was really abrasive in the first part of this
Yep.
episode and quite
Yep.
unpleasant.
Yep. Well, anything we missed, anything we didn't cover that you're not going to be able to live without saying?
um, man, I'm interested to see if we get to this, new figure from the comic books. I mean, that was kind of the other big revelation from these episodes. They were trying to look for the clue from the comic
Mm,
book from Danny the Street, when, Cyborg was finally like, can you give me anything to help in the search for Niles? Danny
yep.
produced this comic book. They finally found something in it that was missing, which was like the hero of an advertisement in one of the pages for a strong man named Flex Mentallo, I think it was.
Well, that
Um,
it's advertising cereal or something.
yeah, it was like Mentallos or something really
Hmm.
strange. But so yeah, so I'm interested that they really brought it up and like did nothing with it in these episodes. So interested to see where that goes in the next couple of episodes. And then
Yep.
of course, in trying to meet this person, instead trying to, like only finding his wife, instead trying to meet her, now their meeting went sideways. The Bureau of Normalcy scooped up
Yeah.
Cyborg and is now holding him captive. I
Yep.
think that's going to be a big thing for the group to address. And I think it's going to bring a lot of their, like I said, their stories together. I think they're going to do something as a big group again. And I also think it could be another really big moment for Larry to like go back and face this organization that just, tormented him
Yeah.
and finally get like
Yep.
a tangible way to stand up to them. So big things
Yep.
coming, I think.
Yes. Yes, indeed. All right. Well, that is Doom Patrol season one,
Mhm.
episodes 10 and 11. Our breakdown, our thoughts. Let us know your breakdown, your thoughts in the comments on YouTube, where
Mhm.
this video will go. So you can follow us there on YouTube, follow us here on Twitch,
Mhm.
follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, all those things, and get involved and let us know what you think, what we should talk about, where we're wrong, all that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Thank you to Killing the Flower for our theme song. We're back to our regular opening this week. Um, check them out on Spotify and on
Mhm.
Instagram. And yeah, like I say, next week's scheduling might be a little different,
Mhm.
but we're coming toward the end of Doom Patrol here, season one. So
Yeah, it'll be
yeah,
exciting to get into season 2 and catch up on the latest.
yes, yes. Otherwise, later this week, keep an eye out for our regular episode.
Mhm.
Definitely be talking about what we think of the Xbox event that happens
Mhm.
tomorrow.
Comic-Con as well.
So, yep, get our thoughts on those things. And otherwise, thank you again for the follow, Fitness Trainer 845. Thanks for getting involved in the chat. Thank you, Matt, for getting involved in the chat. And anyone else out there, thanks and have a good night.
Sounds good. Cheers, everybody.